Here we go. Let's get the music away, and we are ready to rock and roll. There we go. We're good here. Here we go. It's Toastmaster time. That's right. Today is February 22nd of 2023. Tomorrow would be February 23rd of 2023. And that means it is the StonyBrook, Northern Brookhaven Speech Wolves. That's actually the StonyBrook Speech Wolves. We used to be Northern Brookhaven, changed the name because we're meeting at the StonyBrook campus. Speech Wolves at StonyBrook University. So we have our open house tomorrow night, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is in person. So all of my online friends, well, you're certainly invited, but, let's be realistic. Some of you may not be that close, so that's not happening. So we're going back this one. Well, not that we're going back. We're going to decide what we're doing, but just a big time update as to what's going on with the club, StonyBrook Speech Wolves, what's going on with the club, where we're at, how Toastmaster works, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So our club meets on Thursday nights. We meet on the second and fourth Thursday evening of each month. And we've been meeting online. Seems like the whole world has been meeting online over the last number of years. COVID has certainly had an impact on things, a permanent impact on things. We had to go online because we just couldn't meet in person for obvious reasons, so we stayed online. The presentations, the learning, the experience of being online, I think was terrific. It may continue to be terrific. But for this meeting, it's going to be an in-person meeting. Why? Well, it seems that there is quite an interest with many people of meeting in person. Perhaps it's the fact that we haven't done that in a good long time. Many of the Toastmaster clubs have been picking up members from that aspect of it, and they just want to get back in person again and speak in front of people again, become better communicators, stronger leaders. And I'll go into what the program is all about. Online or in person? And this is the big debate with many of these clubs. Depends. It all depends. It depends what you're doing from a career standpoint, what you expect to do from a career standpoint, how you plan on using your speaking skills, and what you actually plan on doing. Who are you presenting to? And what kind of scenario is it? Is it better to meet in person, or is it better to meet online from a business standpoint, from an effective communicator standpoint? Now, I understand we think about public speaking as standing in front of a group of people. Doesn't make a difference how many people. It could be 5 people or 1,000 people. There's slightly different ways of approaching when you're communicating with a small group versus a large group. Or you communicating with a small group, you ask a rhetorical question, you're going to find out it's not that rhetorical. Somebody's going to answer you. You ask that same question in front of a group of 1,000 people, nobody's answering you. It truly becomes a rhetorical question. But what's a better club to join? What is a better way of communicating for you? Again, it depends. Let's use a few different scenarios as to where that is. Let's assume you're a sales manager for a company. Everybody's in the office. There you have one office, maybe 2 offices that you oversee. Okay. Manageable for you to visit those offices. Realistic for you to bring the people in? You got to answer that question. Does your sales force normally show up? If you hold a meeting, will they all come in, or are they on Zoom? If they're all on Zoom or whatever platform that you use, well, then you becoming a more effective communicator in person is immaterial. It doesn't really make that much of a difference in that scenario if you're joining because you want to become a more effective communicator to your employees or to the sales force. Because they're online, you're online. So an online club, in that case, certainly better. If everybody is going to be meeting in person and they're meeting in your office in person, well, then obviously in person makes a difference. But what's interesting is this new work that we have, new way of doing business that we have with everything. Do you still need to be, um, let's put it this way, are we all going to go back into an office setting? Perhaps. Perhaps more and more of us will go back to an office setting. And you're communicating with people in front of each other. You will have different meetings in front of people. You want to know something? I think you need to be comfortable speaking in front of a group of people, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Whether you're leading a group of people or you're going on a job interview, communication skills is important to have. Eye contact, important to do. Understanding how many ums and ahs, you knows, and all those other filler words is important to understand. Speaking too fast, speaking too slow, all that makes a difference. It all makes a difference. Where do you practice that? Be a Toastmaster Club. You can take training at various institutions, and I think that stuff is great. Just terrific. And some of them are just absolutely fantastic. I mean, you want to learn how to become a better salesperson. You're not joining Toastmasters for sales skills. You're joining Toastmasters for confidence and communication skills. You're joining Toastmasters because you want to be more focused on the audience. And I think that's actually a nice way of phrasing it. More focused on the audience. Which also means there's a big difference between speaking to a live group of people sitting in chairs versus speaking to a camera where you're not really making eye contact with people. Because it's different, isn't it? Absolutely is. Because if you're making eye contact with people and you're speaking online, well, then maybe you're looking at the screen. I got my screen over here to the left, so I do that. I'm not looking at you anymore, am I? I'm looking at that. You're looking at the side of my face. I want to make eye contact with you, which means that I might not be able to actually see your eyes. That's totally different than in person. Now, granted, if you had the monitor behind the camera, all right, now you'd be able to do it, but you're still primarily looking at the camera. You're not looking at the screen. Eye contact is a whole different world. Let's take that same scenario, though, as your sales manager role. Sales manager role. You speak to one office, everybody shows up, fantastic. What if you have multiple offices? What if you work for a company or you just have different places, different people all spread out throughout the country, Eastern Seaboard, West Coast, wherever it might be? You want to travel? You want everybody to travel to come in? I don't know. You're writing the check for that? You might not want. Then there's the other aspect of it too. And I've been the participant on many of these things, right? You're going to go out, you're going to call it easy. You're going to another place where it's just one flight, connecting flight, no big deal. You're not doing it in the middle of the winter. You don't have to worry about snow or anything like that. No big deal. But you're still going to a day and a half conference. Ooh, how many days is that now? Oh, it's a day and a half conference. No, it's not. By the time you get done, it's a 3-day conference. You have to get out there, which means you're going to fly out on whatever. You're going to fly out on day 1, conference day 2, full day, day 3 now we're up to. We got to 3 already, right? Another half day. Maybe you go home that night, maybe not. So maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's even 4 days by the time you get done. You're writing a check on all that stuff. That's a lot of money that you're spending now on transportation, hotel, food, everything else that goes along with it. If you're the salesperson, that's a lot of time away from doing work. That's a lot of time away from prospects. So is the future of these meetings, sales meetings, informational meetings, in person or online? I remember, right? You speak in front of a group of 100, 2, 3, 4,000 people. You ask a question, it's a rhetorical question. So what's the difference? You're speaking online or you're speaking in person? You need to be confident speaking online just as well. Just as well. It's a different skill set with speaking online. It's a different way of communicating, without a doubt. It's the same words, but still a different way of communicating. Can it be more effective? In my humble opinion, the answer is yes. If you are giving informational presentations, I actually think the online world is much better. Because look, if I'm doing this online, I could share information with you easily. I could have somebody, which would be nice actually. I could have somebody putting up and changing the screens and adding that to the screen. This way I don't have to look over there and see what it says, or make sure I hit the right button for it to appear. That's right. That's our open house thing. What about it? Handouts? Handouts. In-person event versus online. What's better? Let me tell you something. If you're going to give an in-person event, live people, I think even if it's digital, it's still live people. Live people. Speaking in front of a group of 50 people. And now you have your PowerPoint presentation back behind you with all kinds of data and stuff like that. Or maybe you gave them the handout in the beginning. Don't ever do that. Don't do that. Don't do either one of those things. One, if you give them the handout before you start speaking, they're reading it. And are they listening to you if they're reading the piece of paper, the booklet, the pamphlet, the guide? Oh, no. They're reading. That's not why you're there. If it's something that could just be read and understood, then just give them the handout and go home. That's it. Go home. I had a presentation one time. I was not giving it. I was receiving it. And I received a slice of pizza along with it. Very exciting. Here's what happened. I got the presentation. I put it on my lap. I got the slice of pizza with a paper plate, a single paper plate. I put the piece of pizza, as a tongue twister for you. I put the piece of pizza on the piece of paper on my lap, and the darn thing soaked through. Not only that, you get the paper all oily. That was bad. But then the person giving the presentation had a PowerPoint, which was the handout, and read the whole darn thing word for word. Word for word. And I'm sitting there, besides distracted with the slice of pizza, which really became a mess. Is that why? Why in the world do I have to sit there listening to you when I could be doing other things or on the phone, right? Why in the world am I sitting there listening to you read to me the PowerPoint presentation you have on the screen that I have on my lap, which is getting a little oily? Why? There was no reason. None. That was actually, I'll say it was the worst presentation ever, but in hindsight, it was probably the best presentation ever because I learned from somebody else's mistakes. Oh, that's good. Because it's interesting when you learn from your own mistakes. Hey, that's fine. As long as we learn from them, we get the less than desired outcome, but then we learn and it's good and we grow and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But boy, if you make the mistake and I learn from it, hey, well, that's even better. And by all means, if you learn from some of my mistakes, well, that's fine too. Why not? Why not? So if I'm giving that presentation online, here's what's going to happen. Me as the participant, right? One, I'm eating my slice of pizza at a desk. Maybe I'm eating with a real plate, not a paper plate, because I don't want to get my desk all dirty. And I'm certainly not balancing it on my lap. That's good. That PowerPoint presentation never should have been in detail up there. The person never should have read it. That's bad. And the handout, let's talk about that. Don't give the handouts in advance. If it was online, here's the way that one should have gone. Is that one, if I needed those notes from that PowerPoint as the presenter, right? If I needed those notes, I could be looking at notes on the screen. Better put the screen behind the camera. This way you don't realize I'm looking at it. And I've actually done that, right? you have I've used a whiteboard, but I want to make sure I include 3 different points or something like that. Not word for word, but it's all up there. But if I had the whiteboard or the screen behind me, I could actually have the equivalent of the PowerPoint there, only bullet points, because I don't want to read the thing. That's silly. And then it just sounds like a robot doing that. Or I should say, it sounds like a robot from the 80s. I don't know. Robots nowadays have changed out quite a bit. Whole other topic. Sometimes I wonder if we're watching a robot, some artificial intelligence thing, or a real person. Crazy how many things are going to get replaced by those things. And maybe we don't even know because they're that good. But so if I had this PowerPoint behind me and I'm doing it online over here, you don't know I'm reading, and I'm not. I shouldn't be because I have that. You're sitting at your desk, you're nice and comfortable, and you'll listen to me to talk through the presentation. At the end of it, I then hit the button, or my producer hits the button, and boom, you get it emailed to you. You get it sent as a document to you, through this whole thing. And maybe it's something that you want to have delivered, fine. Have it delivered. Just send it. Have it go into the office. Do that. You want to give handouts? Fine. You want to give little trinkets? Fine. You can even do that. Have that all sent to the office in advance. Ship it over and have somebody hand out everything as it goes along. What did you wind up accomplishing? One, I think as a presenter, you sound better instead of reading. You're going to be a little bit more fluid because you've got your notes. If you need to rely on that, you got your notes on that. And the handout's a digital handout. Now it's saved permanently instead of you got the handout that I had. What do you think I did with that? Had old pizza oil on it. I went in the garbage. So it was useless, let alone we could have saved trees and everything else that goes along with it. It was useless. Let it be emailed. So I really think the effectiveness of a presentation done digitally can actually be more effective than done in person if it's purely informational, without a doubt. If it's motivational, that becomes a separate animal. Definitely becomes a separate animal. Because if it's a motivational speech, being in person, there's a lot to be said for that. A lot to be said for that. But you still have the issue here. What if there's multiple locations? You going to fly everyone in for a motivational speech, for a 1-hour speech or something like that? No. For a conference, different story. Maybe not. Depends. Depends on the group, organization, how many people, stuff like that. There's a bunch of depends that goes into that one. Definitely a decision that has to be made from a company standpoint going in. From a salesperson standpoint, I can tell you most of the time, mail me the trinkets, mail me the t-shirt, the sweatshirt, whatever the giveaway is. Just leave me alone. Let me do that. I attend online. A day conference is a day conference. I've attended 2-day conferences online. It's great. A little bit of multitasking in there. So if the conference is really good, the person's paying attention. If it's not really good, they're not paying attention. And reality is, if it's not really good and they're there, they're still not paying attention. So it doesn't really matter that way. You have to be very, very good from a presentation skill standpoint. You have to be good, have to be entertaining, have to make it work. Motivational online, different animal. Different animal. Could you do a motivational speech sitting down? No. No. Let me just flat out say no. No, no, no. How many times can I say no? Or my Toastmaster friends, I'm going to count my ums and ahs, count my no's. No, 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 no. Now, stand up, my friends. Oh, wait a second. Stand up. But I've been using Zoom or whatever for the last couple of years. I don't stand up. Well, you can. It's different. Where do you practice that? Not when you're giving a real speech in front of real employees or a sales force or a seminar you're doing. You got to practice that someplace else. Toastmasters is a great place to practice it. Give your speech standing up. How complicated is it? Well, it's complicated, especially if you're doing it from a home setting and you're doing it by yourself. Still could have that producer behind the scenes that's changing the slides for you or whatever your background is. You still could have your notes behind you without a doubt. what I've done, because the computer screen gets to be a little bit too small with that, is that I'll move the camera around a little bit inside the room. I got a whiteboard that's up on the wall. I write my notes on the whiteboard, very big letters, and a dark colored pen too. I don't want to use yellow on a whiteboard. Not a good idea. You want to use red, blue, black, whatever color gets you going on that one. Now you're standing up. Make sure that whiteboard is at the right height. You got to make sure the camera's at the right height, because you want to be speaking, or let's say seeing through the camera, so you can read your notes, and you're still making eye contact over there. Eye contact with your participants? Nope. I've yet to master that one. You just can't look at everything the same way. Also, if you got a group of people on there, you got 2 people you're talking to, it's a big picture. You're talking to 10, 20 people, 30, 40 people, whatever, multiple screens. No, not happening. You're just not going to see those things. Chat room, again, gets to be very complicated. Can you get the questions from there? No. Now, what about lighting? It's different. It's different. This camera, and I get the light from the monitor. I don't even need, actually today I'm not even using any special lights, and it's cloudy outside. I just got the windows open, and I don't even have lights on in the room. But if I'm standing up though, a little different, the lighting matters. The backdrop all of a sudden becomes bigger, because now you are taking up less of the screen. The camera has to be further away. It's a wider shot. It's not just what I have behind me. It's the whole wall that's behind me. Maybe it's further back in the room. Microphone. Wait a second. So now if you're being on camera and you're full bodied, that means you have to be further away from the camera. It doesn't work like this. You can still move closer, by the way, but you're further back. You could be 5 feet away. You could be maybe even 10 feet away from the camera. And then how much of the whole body do you really need? Is it everything from your shoes on up? Probably not. Waist or so up or something like that. Depends on you. Also depends upon moving. Yeah, moving. When we're doing these Zoom things, how much do I move? I move a little bit side to side, not much, right? I go face, I move a little closer in, further back, that's it. But if I'm standing up, I now have a stage to use. Got to move around a little bit. Move around a lot? Not a lot. If I'm on stage in person, I can move around a lot, because I'm going side to side. I'm using 20 feet of stage. I use 20 feet of this room. I'm walking into the wall. But if I go wall to wall walking around, that's a big camera shot. Remember, I don't have somebody moving the eyes of the camera, where if it's an audience, the audience eyes are moving along with you, so it doesn't matter. Actually, it's very effective to use the entire stage. It's not as effective if you're using your entire room, unless the camera's eyes is following you. But if it's a stationary camera, it doesn't work. Here's the mistake I made, and we got a couple of minutes here. We'll go back to the Toastmaster side of life, because all this stuff can be practiced in the Toastmaster land. My first video I shot in Toastmaster land. I was at a meeting. I was giving a presentation. Wanted to bring the camera, right? Got my little VHS camera, put it in the back of the room. Got right down the middle of the aisle. Some of the people sitting on one side, some of the people sitting on the other side. I don't want to get anybody's heads in there, so I didn't put it right smack in the middle, right down the middle of the aisle. It's fantastic. Had the lectern on there. That was good. And pretty wide shot. It was okay. So I was able to move around, because I move around a lot, on stage. I like doing that. Here's what happened. And this is where you got to understand the difference between one camera, no movement with the camera, and you speaking. And the difference between speaking to a live audience versus speaking to a camera audience, right? The camera audience, the lens, the eye of the camera does not move. It does not move. The audience eyes, obviously they do move. They turn their head, they move, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. All right. So when I did that presentation, I spoke to the audience. I did not speak to the camera. And here's what happened. I spoke to the right side. I spoke to the left side. I spoke to the right side. Hey, you should think that. Wow, that's a great idea over there. This is what you should do there. And I walked from one side to the other. Well, When you go like this and you talk to both sides there, and then you move back like this, you look like a chicken without a head is what it came down to. I was bobbing from one side to the other of that from the camera standpoint. That was how I learned. It's either speaking to the audience in person or it's speaking to the camera. If it's one camera. And there's a difference. There's absolutely a difference, technical difference, and that side of it. Multiple cameras, it's a whole different thing. Whole different thing. If you're a professional speaker and you got multiple cameras on there, well, it's a different thing. Now you got like a TV show kind of presentation. So we're not really talking about that. We're talking about what most of us are going to be doing if they're giving a presentation. Toastmasters is a great place to learn that. So on the 23rd, it's going to be Thursday night, 5:30. We have an in-person meeting. And it's totally in person. It's not hybrid. It's not anything like that. All right. It is in person. On the following, in the second and fourth Thursday, the rest of the months, we are meeting online again. And that'll happen through the end of the Toastmaster year. And that's through the end of June. Beginning of July, we start the next Toastmaster year. So we have new officers each and every year. We have new members. Well, we have many returning members, but we have new members that come in too. Will the StonyBrook Speech Wolves remain in person or remain online or go in person? It depends. It is going to be a vote that we're going to wind up doing with our membership to see what we wind up doing. I have opinions on that one. I'm happy to share them with the group, the executive officers, and then we'll go through. I think you could probably guess which way I am looking for. What is possible, though, is always going. You join Toastmasters, you go to multiple clubs, which is fine. You just join one club and you can visit other clubs and learn both skills. So our open house, what we're going to be doing, it's at 5:30. It's at StonyBrook campus. I'll put the link up on this one as soon as we end on this. It is 5:30 to 8, 5:30 to 7:30. We're going to give a couple of presentations. We're going to show you what it's like with table topics, Toastmaster of the day. So table topics is improv speaking, a prepared speech that will be evaluated, and what that is all about. Because if you give a speech, generally they're 5 to 7 minutes. Some other member will evaluate that speech, tell you what you did good, give you areas of improvement, and things to think about, for the next time. The speeches vary in topic. They need to be appropriate to the groups, all the rest of that kind of stuff. The goals of each speech change with whatever program or whatever pathway that you'd like to do. Some of the pathways include giving a technical speech, giving humorous speeches, giving after dinner speeches, giving speeches using visual aids, and there's a number of other ones that are included in that. I love the new Pathways program in some aspects of it because it's much more specific to what your goals are. It's all online. All the documents are online, which is really good too. It's much more in depth. Still navigating the website is one thing, but maybe that's me. But you have these multiple pathways, and it makes it much more specific to you and your goals. And it's always been something. Goes into that why thing. Would I love to see everybody attend that? Absolutely. Will you all attend an in-person event? No, I'm sure not. But if you can, that'd be great. 5:30, it's free. We're going to get some refreshments for it as well. The next couple of meetings will be in March, and that will be online again. Happy to chat with you about what the program is, how it's worked for me, and different things I've learned along the way, ways for it to work for you. Money, it's not much. We're talking $100 for the year. You join one club, you could always visit the other clubs, and the other clubs are extensive. It's in well over 100 countries around the world, thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of members. If you include everybody, some clubs are totally online. Some clubs are hybrid. Some clubs are in person. You can visit, give speeches, do all kinds of things. It's conferences, you learn about a whole bunch of different things. So it definitely works. Question is, will it work for you? The only way to really find out is to contact me or your local Toastmaster club, or go to toastmastersinternational.org and find a club near you. I do look forward to seeing everybody Thursday night. I do look forward to chatting with you about chatting. It's opened so many doors, so many doors. Some of them are just absolutely incredible. That's fantastic. It even extended my career at one company because I gave the suggestion about going out and giving speeches, real business speeches at the different offices that had was not a popular topic, but it had to be done. We did it. So that respect, it works there. If you're a student, and maybe your hand will rise that much quicker because you're confident in you. You can maybe not be confident in the answer, but you're confident in you. You raise your hand. At networking events, without a doubt, you're going to learn a couple of things. One, listening skills. The other one is elevator pitch time, right? We do table topics. It's 2 minutes. Elevator pitch should be a lot less than 2 minutes, but you're going to learn to understand time. And that becomes important too. And talking about time, we're out of time. You have any questions? You know where to reach me? If you don't know where to reach me, well, I don't get. But anyhow, you know where to reach me. Now, here's what you must do. You must speak well, speak often, and live inspired. And I'm telling you right now, you do that. You walk around with a smile. You walk around looking forward to something. You share your successes with people. They're going to want to share theirs, and they're going to want to know what it is that you're doing. And you're communicating well. That is actually the foundation of so much of this. Have a great day.